Absolutely agree. So no more waiting. We have found ourselves in game number 1 of our next best of 5 series. That one will take place on the map Oceanborn, and spawning right here in the bottom right-hand corner, we have one of the very best Terrans of all time, and he goes by the name of Clem.
Clem. And his opponent, spawning up in the top left for Team Blazer, it is Krystianer.
No polar bear spinning around on his main command center today. Not on this account.
Not on this account. They should have let it. They should have let it put it in. Just make it so that it's only visible to us. I don't care. I don't know how you do it. I'm sure it's not even possible, but it just feels like it belongs there, you know?
Absolutely. You're certainly right, though. It can be a bit of a reality check sometimes when you do go up against some of the very best players on the planet. I mean, Clem, no stranger to this tournament whatsoever. Of course, he's been very successful in the European region over the years. One of the very few players who can take on, well, the other top-tier contenders, right? Like, for example, Serral, like, for example, Reynor, the people we see dominating this region for a long time, and Clem is amongst them. So, yeah, this is going to be a tricky one for Krystianer. In general, Krystianer seems to be playing, mostly macro-focused game, not really all too cheesy. And I feel like in a straightforward match against Clem, it's got to be such an uphill fight. Like, how in the world do you take down Clem in a macro game?
That's the thing, is how do you take him down in a macro game? And even TVT, which used to be Clem's big weakness, and it's still, relatively speaking, it obviously is. He beat Maru at Gamers 8. Like, even that, which is his biggest weakness, he took down many people would consider to be the TVT GOAT in that matchup. Like, yeah, it's going to be tough. But I think I've said enough how difficult it's going to be. Let's talk about the game a little bit. We have got an engineering bay block, which did force out, like we were talking about in the previous series, instead of, trying to take it at the natural and taking it very delayed and having your Nexus get delayed, we instead see Krystianer taking that base at the third. Clem, though, I think he knew that this was always going to be Krystianer's game plan, because he has gone for a gas first into a very quick reactor Hellion play.
Absolutely. So he's going to be able to start putting a bit of pressure on the opponent. The tricky part right here for Protoss, we see this happen all the time, right? In like a Protoss versus Zerg, for example, where Zerg is forced to take the third base first. And Zerg players usually handle it quite well. Now we have a Protoss player taking their third base as their first expansion. And the thing about Protoss units is that they're like a third of the movement speed of any of the Zerg units. They're just so slow to maneuver in the right place at the right time. Krystianer is gonna have to be there when the aggression arrives from Clem. And that's usually where, even just in this early stage of a PvT, we see things go wrong for Protoss all the time. They're just expecting the Hellions to be at the third, and they show up in the main base. They show up with a medevac. There's so many different ways for these units to harass that Krystianer needs to be in the right place, and preferably at 2 locations at once, but he just doesn't have the amount of units. At this point, well, I mean, maybe he can push back these Hellions for the time being, but they're so quick to switch between all of these different locations.
Yeah, and with the shield battery being put where it is, it actually doesn't cover the whole mineral line. So, that's a pretty good grab. That actually went way better for Krystianer than I expected. Way better.
Yeah. Recall to the main base to make sure that this Hellion falls. That is a cute move, and that's going to be the end of that Hellion. Can he get one more? No.
Wow. Yo, Krystianer?
I mean, that's still so 6 probes, though. That's still 6 probes for 4 Hellions. It's as good as it's gonna be, right? It's gonna be very hard to get a better cleanup against Clem than that.
Well, that was only 4 probes for that segment. Yes. He must have lost 2 other probes. There was the scouting probe, and then where did the other probe fall?
I'm not actually exactly sure.
That was a sick defense, though, from Krystianer. I really thought that was going to get so much more damage. Now, if Clem had gone straight into the main base, there was no shield battery. There was no shield battery there, but Krystianer had those stalkers, the 2 stalkers, kind of zoning Clem towards that third, kind of drawing him into a bit of a trap. And you know what? I gotta say, this is a fantastic start for Krystianer as far as the context of who he's up against and how difficult that should have been to defend.
Absolutely. So it's going to be Blink Stalkers here, which is not really much of a surprise. We see Blink Stalkers in basically every single game in this tournament at the very least so far. If it's not a Stargate opener, but in these sort of spawn locations. And with the third base being forced first, it does make a ton of sense. charge immediately on the back of it as well. So only just now is when the second gateway is about halfway done. Krystianer teching up hard, going straight into a third Nexus. I really like what he's doing here.
Yeah, I think after defending those Hellions, starting up a really quick third Nexus is a great decision. He didn't take that much damage. Even, obviously, in aggregate, 6 probes is a lot, but with him not building the shield battery in the main, like, it's not bad at all.
No.
Now, I don't think he's going to necessarily have an easy time of this game. I'm just celebrating the victories where I see them, you know? And, like,
no, absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, four Hellions is 400 minerals, right? Like, it's a substantial amount of money to lose for Terran. It's like, you know, if we saw them killing a command center, we would be all over it, right? 6 probes killing a command center, we'd be like, oh my god, that is unheard of. Now he's thinking about blinking into the main base, and he does sneak around the site here. One unit was waiting, so apparently he's gonna spoil this surprise, but this is still really nice right now here, though. As long as he can get away. Oh my god.
Oh, he needs to recall right now.
Okay, he's too gone. Okay, he's gonna have to recall. How many is he gonna lose? 1, 2? Okay.
That was so greedy from Krystianer. He lost the observer to the Raven, so he knew exactly that the army was coming towards him. He stepped into it and then blinked back instead of just blinking to the side and recalling out. I don't think he was anticipating the one siege tank shot that hit the center of the Stalkers, and if he doesn't take that, he maybe gets out without losing any of those Stalkers, but he overstayed a little bit, grabbing 1 or 2 extra SCVs, and it cost him 2 Stalkers.
Yeah.
A small little decision, but it is one of those ones that against a player of Clem's caliber, you really cannot afford to make even small mistakes. Now, this is interesting. We've got an armory coming down for permacloaked Widowmines to continue to be a nuisance here for Clem.
I don't hate it, though. I don't hate it here at all for Krystianer. I mean, yeah, maybe that could have been refined even more, but he's done a good amount of damage on the other side of the map. We do have all the upgrades once again finishing up here for the Terran. We have a little bit of a drop here too with that auto turret coming down to the low ground, but a quick pull. I think it only ended up killing 1 worker right there in total. So honestly, not a bad game here by Krystianer whatsoever. It's just that this incoming attack from Terran is going to be a little bit tricky to hold. Widowmine drop.
Yeah, it is going to be a Widowmine drop coming on in. Now, there was a cannon built somewhere, but it was not at this base. Oh, the Widowmines. Ay, ay, ay. 9 probes going down. Well, and that is super painful. That is super painful. We also even got a Zealot there. Just salt in the wound of an already rough situation. And now this army, oh my goodness, that is just gigantic.
Yeah, again, the margin for error at high-level StarCraft 2 is absolutely tiny. You're not allowed to make mistakes like that one. You gotta be pulling away your workers as quickly as possible against drops like that. And well, now suddenly Clem is finding himself in a lot more of a comfortable position. There's no Colossus out just yet. It's just gonna be 3 Immortals, which is not bad whatsoever. Does he have enough, however? No Stalkers in the middle of the map either to try and slow down this attack here from the Terran. So Clem just gets the siege up where he wanted the siege in the first place. Nice force fields, I suppose, but there's really nothing here to close the distance.
No, there isn't. The battery overcharge keeping one of the Immortals alive for a little while. And a lot of the bio units actually do end up getting picked off. We do see a flank coming in on the siege tanks. He grabs one. And the supplies are not as bad as... I mean, he's going to have a Colossus out soon. Most of the Marines, though, have already been dealt with, so it's mainly Marauders here. And there are still a couple of siege tanks in a good position. Widowmines, oh, they get some big shots on the Zealots. But Krystianer will drive this army back. Can he find that medevac?
Yeah, he's looking for it. Okay, 2 very low hit point medevacs. Now the reinforcing Terra units, though, have arrived. Widowmine's firing a second time here as well. This is still a very, very large Terran army. It's now coming in from a slightly different angle. That battery overcharge should soon be available once again, but not just yet. Widowmines, okay, thinking about doing some friendly fire there for a moment, but that Immortal putting in a ton of work.
Yeah, the Immortal did get some good damage there. Clem able to retarget the one Widowmine that was looking to be mind dragged by Krystianer. If that did manage to connect on the bio, you can see how low that bio is right now. Krystianer might have actually cleaned up this push, but as it stands, Clem does not allow Krystianer to do so. And Clem will take the 1-0 lead. Very well done.
Now imagine this entire fight, right, with 9 additional probes, or maybe 7 more additional probes. If we, you know, defended that as cleanly as you possibly could have, that would have been a very different engagement. Like during all of that, Krystianer would be able to just reinforce it a lot easier. Yeah, I like the first half of that game for him, but ultimately, Clem, he only needs one moment before he starts marching across the map. And, well, he saw an opportunity, he took it, and he immediately never let go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's tricky. I mean, StarCraft 2 is a brutal game. It is a game of inches, and sometimes they break the other way. But I've got to say, I was actually really encouraged by a lot of what Krystianer did there. He is playing better than he did on the Monday. He is definitely capable of making this a competitive series.
Yep. Small little changes right there would have, well, been a very different outcome, I believe. He did a good job, though. Also in that main engagement when the siege tanks first drove across, coming in from different angles, using the zealots very cleverly, attempting those Widowmine drags to go over the army. He just simply didn't have quite the income there to match the Terran anymore. And I mean, ultimately, of course, that was a very committed push as well from Clem. So if that did not end up working out for him, he would have been in a world of trouble. Either way, that's going to lead us to game number 2, which will take place on the map Heartlet. Not lead, it's Let. And spawning right here in the bottom right corner, we have none other than Clem, currently 1-0 ahead.
And his opponent playing a pretty darn good game number 1. Just a few adjustments needed, and he might have been I would have certainly been able to drag that game out for Team Blazer. It is Krystianer.
Alrighty. Clem probably not too happy with how that game went overall, right? I mean, he must also have realized that he needed to get something done, and that's not really the situation you ever want to be in, right? Preferably, you just sort of play a little bit better than your opponent here and there, and you just sort of cruise ahead to a victory. That was Clem almost forced to deal some sort of damage, and he did get it done in the end, but maybe not quite as comfortably as he wanted it to be.
Yeah, certainly a situation where maybe Clem was looking at the previous series and was like, okay, you know, like, I just need to play my game and things will work out well for me. And Krystianer maybe brought a little bit more heat than Clem was expecting. And like you said, he needed to get something done. He did get it done, but I wonder if we'll see some adjustments from Clem, because that was a little bit of a tricky opener. You saw, obviously, the Engineering Bay block into the Hellion play. Like, that was an intended... That was a build that was intended to get some damage done, and maybe didn't get as much as Clem would have liked.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one of those builds that's designed to try and throw the Protoss player off, but it clearly did not. Right? Krystianer managed to deal with that quite nicely. The Hellions, I mean, they were almost forced at that point, and they didn't really achieve that much. It was well handled. So this time around, Clem has opted to not go for any such thing. He decides to just go straight into the Reaper Scout. We do not have an observer, or sorry, an SCV. No observer yet on the other side of the map either, for what it's worth, but no SCV on the other side of the map. This can be a little bit risky if it would have been a Zealot first here from Krystianer, but he's decided to skip that in this particular game and go straight into the Adept.
Yeah, and Krystianer actually taking it even a step further and going for a Gate Nexus here. So just a little bit more economically focused. It does mean that his Adept will be a little bit later, and against a player like Clem, who likes to go for Reapers, can be dangerous, but we can see Krystianer does not lose that probe. Clem might have been able to get it if he had committed. I did not expect him to cancel that shade. That was a bit of a juke, but it was kind of a double juke too.
It was really nicely done, actually. Clem trying to go around there, trying to trick his opponent a little bit. He's so good with that control, but Krystianer matching him for at least the time being and dealing some base damage there to the Adept is apparently all we can really aim for. It's going to be a robo facility first here for the Protoss. How do you feel about that one? Not really something we see too much.
No, it's
not as much as Twilight Council and Stargate.
Not something we see often at all. What I was just about to say is I think we might see a Colossus drop. And if that is what we end up seeing, it could just be very, very quick Colossus with no drop. But I'm salivating at the idea of a Colossus drop. You know,
I mean, SOS has been playing again recently, right? So I mean, this could be one of his build orders, is what I'm saying.
He's been good, actually. He's played some really good games, SOS.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not talking about that right now. Oh, that's the Scout. You do not want to let your opponent see what you've done here, because if it does end up being the Colossus drop like this, Now Clem can just build a Viking.
Yeah, pretty good unit. Just in general, so Prism is going to be done first. What are we going to be using that Robo Bay for? All right, there's the Prism Speed. There's the Colossus. My God, Steadfast with the prediction of a lifetime. Colossus drops? Okay.
I mean, I was born and raised on the NA server. I'm used to watching Nina doing this in like every game like 7, 8, 9 years ago.
Yeah, no, that's I guess something that was played there back in the day, but yeah, definitely not the most common build at all. And there's the Viking coming up. Here's the Widowmine drop too.
I wonder also how the new Cyclone does against this, because you don't get the lock-on range, but the damage is really high, and you know you can't force the lock-on onto the Colossus, and then all of a sudden it's on cooldown for a while. Like this is gonna be a little bit weird. Now this is a really nice. Oh my God, did he just get scouted with the Hellion? Didn't he?
I think he did. Yeah, I think he just caught the tail end of that Prism moving across. Problem is, neither of these two units can shoot up, so that Viking really should get to work. Here's a little bit of juggling with the Colossus. Krystianer playing this game in style. The problem is, right, yeah, none of these units can shoot up, but that Prism is really darn quick, so he's going to be able to get away there. Easy peasy. Goodbye, Viking.
Just an absolute zoomy boy right there. Looks like Clem, so maybe why he moved that Viking in a weird way was looks like he tried to run in with that medevac, fly in, but Krystianer has those units in position. He's already cordoned this off. This is once again a pretty solid start from Krystianer. And when you have that Ferrari War Prism, it does move pretty quickly. And as long as they don't have like a Ferrari pit crew, it should be safe.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the new Cyclone is not going to be quite as nice as the old one against this particular unit here. I mean, just the lock-on range alone is going to make it very tricky. Those Marines have to be so careful. Couple lasers, they will end up dying. And on the back of this, we've got ourselves a charge first. Viking trying to cut this off, but here he goes. Second gear, third gear, he's gone. He accelerates through the corners as well, man. It's insane.
He doesn't even have brakes. He literally removed them. He's like, why would I need these?
He just has one speed, that's it.
Yeah. The speed, it's just labeled yes.
That's what the pedal says as well.
The pedal says yes.
That's it.
And the other one has been removed.
Yeah, excellent. So is this going to be a committed 3 base all-in right now on the back of this? Or what exactly are we going to do? Are we just going to play a macro game off of this? Because we did go charge as the very first upgrade in the Twilight Council.
Oh, no. All right, look at the bottom of the natural. Mm-hmm. Bottom of Clem's natural.
Yep.
See those 2 Widowmines?
Yep.
See how they're on cooldown?
Mm-hmm.
All right, now take a look at the units tab.
There's something missing here.
There is something missing. There's a mystery that we need to solve. It's the mystery of the dead War Prism and Colossus.
The Formula 1 War Prism is no more.
Oh, and a Widowmine drop. Oh my God, it just found 9 probes on the third base. We got another Widowmine drop. And just like in game number 1, it feels like things kind of just suddenly fell apart. Krystianer not pulling the probes, and he loses another bunch. Oi, 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 it's a disaster.
As Wardy would say, right? Absolutely, yeah. This is... Yeah, suddenly an absolute... disaster is the best way to put it. I mean, now Clem is going to be able to start marching across the map once again. He just finished up his 3rd CC. He's going to be able to start continuing some work here. This is, frustrating, right? I mean, that's so many workers going down in such a short span of time. I think he had an excellent opportunity to bring it home if, well, a couple of the small things, once again, went just ever so slightly better.
Yeah, it's, oh man, that's really rough for Krystianer. And Clem, well played from him. He comes in with a multi-prong with those Widowmine drops. Krystianer unfortunately wasn't able to deal with it. Widowmines have been a really potent weapon for Clem in this one. They got another couple of shots in the natural. So many probes have died in the last little bit, and another couple of Widowmines. Oh, he tried to target the Prism. Good job from Krystianer, though. He does recognize it and pulls it back.
Yeah.
But even with all this, it's so much damage.
43 workers in total over just like the last 30 seconds or maybe a minute or so.
Yeah,
they're still dealing damage. I mean, Krystianer falling apart a little bit here. And this is the effect that Clem generally has on people, right? You make one small error, and that's all he really needs.
Yeah, it's just too much damage at this point. Krystianer's going to try and micro his way to a victory, but he's on half the army supply. Great War Prism micro right here, but there just isn't enough units. He will get in on top of this base. He will find a couple of these SCVs, but Clem, I mean, he's going to be able to just macro out enough stuff. Krystianer warping into Zealots, but there is the GG getting called, and Clem puts himself up 2-0.
Excellent start once again here for Krystianer, right? He deals a lot of damage, he catches the opponent off guard, he doesn't really take any damage at home. And then, in the span of like a minute, 2 games in a row, everything just falls apart. He takes a ton of damage, Widow Mines come in. In the previous game, we also had that Prism going down with the Colossus inside of it. That is very unfortunate right there for Krystianer. He's playing good games, but Clem might just be one bridge too far here so far. I mean, he's trying his best, but not quite enough.
Yeah, not quite enough. I mean, the problem with the removing the brakes is...
Sorry, I'm just giggling at Wardy. Wardy's saying I missed it because I got distracted by Loco's cat. That's why I got distracted too, guys. Suddenly there was a cat in my room. 2 of them. They had to move, but all right. Yeah, no, that Prism in a little bit of trouble, sadly.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, I looked in the background and I just see someone coming across and grabbing something out of your room. And I'm like, what is happening
I just want to
right
interject.
here?
The best part was the cat in protest turned the lights on. And I was like, this whole series of events was great. So
And then I turn around and what I see is Wardy zoomed in on 2 Widow Mines. I had to figure out what happened, but it was pretty clear, huh?
Yeah. Fortunately, the detective work on that one was not too difficult. It was the evidence was all laid out in front of us.
Unfortunately, though, because that was a cool build right there from Krystianer, getting a ton of value in with strategies we don't really see all too often. Clearly, Clem had to start thinking on the fly as well, and he needed to get a little bit lucky, right? Like he needed something there to get rid of the Prism. Ultimately, the Widow Mines, man. They just like in game number 1, they got so much work done.
Yeah, it's like the Widow Mines in game 2. Like the white Widow Mines in game 1 were like, hey dog, we did so much work. What are you gonna do about it? And then like, I don't know, the entire cast of the Expendables shows up in game 2 and just beats the living hell out of every probe that poor Krystianer has.
I think some of them must have fired like 4 times in a mineral line, man. That was rough.
So many times.
Alrighty, well, that brings us to the map Hecate, where in the bottom left-hand corner we have a man who's already on match point, and he goes by the name of Clem.
And his opponent, spawning up at the top right for Team Blazer, it is Krystianer.
Okay. Just tightening things up ever so slightly, right? Like that would be really lovely to see, because game number 1 and game number 2, if they would have transitioned towards a macro game where the Widow Mines didn't kill literally everything, okay, maybe not literally, but like 50% of the things available, they would have looked very different. Now, honestly, it's one of those situations where when it rains, it pours, right? You need to like deal with the first one, and then suddenly the follow-ups are also much easier to deal with. But when the first one is kind of shaky, you don't defend it perfectly, then suddenly the second one deals a ton of damage too, and then ultimately the Terran army is just much too big. Yeah, we just need to clean up the defense a bit, but that's much easier said than done.
Yeah, it is one of those situations where once things start to go wrong, they really snowball out of control. But it does feel like one of those things where it's like, okay, so all we need to do to become, a recording artist is we just need to come up with a couple of good songs. We need to record them. We need to find a producer that wants to, that wants to sponsor the album. We need to be good at music. Like it's one of those things where keeping up with Clem's multitasking is so difficult. So difficult. And obviously Krystianer is very good, and we've seen some great stuff, but once Clem turns on the jets, like, man, there are so few people that can keep up with him.
Yeah, keep in mind as well that Krystianer in the previous 2 games had a really good start as well, right? If Clem manages to clean up that early game just a little bit and not allow, you know, any damage, preferably, right? If he doesn't lose anything at home, suddenly, I think the mid game, or at least the beginning of the mid game, because we weren't even really there quite yet. Suddenly, that looks a whole lot better as well for the Terran. Anyhow, so far nothing all too crazy here. That Reaper ended up killing the scouting worker on the other side of the map. Fair enough. Just looking around, trying to figure out exactly what's happening. Stargate opener in the meantime inside of the main base of Krystianer. So he's ready to start flying some units across the map, going for a different build once again.
And I mean, you know what? It makes sense for him to try and play Phoenixes this game, because what has been losing in these games, I mean, it's the Widow Mines. He has really struggled to deal with them. And so it does make sense from a, you know, very basic perspective. Hey, I'm just going to go for Phoenixes instead. But this is really interesting. We see a Twilight Council and now a proxy pylon. Is he literally just going to build 1 Phoenix and do like proxy DT or something? Or is this going to, hang on, is this going to be Blink Stalkers? And
if it is
Phoenix
going to
for
be
the high
proxy
ground.
DT, oh, you think he's going to proxy the shrine as well? No, it's going to be a gateway over there. That'd be kind of nuts, because that would be very quick for that proxy pylon. It's going to be Blink instead. So I think you're right, though. Okay. It's just a single Phoenix. Just to like, hey, I've got a Phoenix. You should be very scared of me. Definitely don't go Widow Mines now, because I've got a Phoenix.
Yeah, it definitely does feel exactly like that. It
literally feels like it, yeah. I mean, he's dealing some damage, of course, waiting for that medevac to pop. Does he see it?
No!
Oh,
he
my
sees
God.
it! Come on! Oh, let the poor man catch a damn break. Oh.
Krystianer not really able to get a whole lot going here in this game. Already going for the backup pylon here as well. In the meantime, Steadfast is sitting somewhere underneath his desk, I believe. He just disappeared for a moment, but he's back.
Oh, I feel so bad for Krystianer right now. And he's doubling down on the proxy. I get he will be able to hold the position. That's good. But the unfortunate thing, one of the many unfortunate things about this actually, is that there is an armory on the field. Clem was intending to go for those permacloaked mines again. And that is actually very bad for Krystianer, because even if he blinks in and soaks up the mine shots, he's not going to be able to kill them. He would either have to build an Oracle or start a robotics facility. He's going to transition out of this, Krystianer is. That's probably the best call, but he also committed to more additional buildings to try and hold the position. Everything about this is just a disaster for Krystianer. Oh my God, and he's going to lose probes to just a handful of scouting units.
Yep, this wasn't really an army meant to deal damage, and you're absolutely right. Now we have 4 gateways, with some of it on the other side of the map. That's so many probes going down. Ay, one more as well, just to make it even. No! Oh my God. Oh, it hurts. Okay, well, anyways,
stop. He's
4
already
gateway,
dead.
3rd Nexus here. Widow Mine apparently also ended up getting a shot off, and it doesn't have a confirmed kill, so at least we did get a blink away in time, but Krystianer needs to get something done with his army, while also at the same time, you know, get an economy going. My God, yeah, this is rough.
At least he got the blink in, and now the Widow Mine is on cooldown, but now he once he blinks out, he can't get back in. So Krystianer is either going to need to hold the position somehow. He is getting a lot of damage on this factory. Clem's got to be a little bit careful about that, but he is going to go for the fight. There's the repair. Nice job from Clem. Krystianer, once again, once he blinks out, he doesn't have vision anymore. He will add on that Oracle that I was talking about. So that will give him detection. That will give him high ground vision. Hang on, wait, did he just... Oh, no, he canceled it and builds a Phoenix. I actually think Oracle was absolutely the right call. I think...
I agree.
Going for the Phoenix is a really weird choice. Oh, please don't eat the Widow Mine shot. Okay, he does avoid it. Good micro. Very good micro from Krystianer.
Absolutely. He does have an observer coming as well, but the aggression in the main base is mostly closed at this point, right? There's not really a whole lot you can do anymore when finally the next unit that can provide high ground vision is going to show up. Okay, we're just going to go for everything here. Tons of additional gateways, Templar archives, charts on the back of this. Clem is, of course, a little bit late on some of his upgrades here as far as, like, for example, the combat shields go, so he doesn't really have, like, a super strict timing here that he can line up, but he can always start moving across. Okay, the Phoenix and the Stalker, at least they catch this drop, but I think Clem will be happy to fly it back home at this point.
Yeah, I think he's totally fine to send that back home. he does have the third command center on the way, Clem, as well as, you know, adding on those additional barracks. He's pumping. He's still in a good spot. Krystianer, though, he's doing some good work with these Blink Stalkers to make the absolute best of just a horrible situation. And now, I mean, he's got charge. If he can find a really great engagement with a bunch of Zealot Stalker, maybe catch Clem unsieged like unburrowed Widow Mines, there's a chance that he could take a good fight.
Clem not really taking any chances here though, so Combat Shields is gonna finish up here momentarily. He's sent a full medevac of units towards the other side of the map as well, and they're completely unscouted, but luckily here for Krystianer, he's got plenty of gateway units waiting as well at home. Third command center is gonna get an orbital command as well, so before flying up and down towards the low ground, Clem is just making sure that he is as safe as possible. Yeah, Krystianer trying his best to find his footing in this game, but it's just so rough.
Yeah, it's such a difficult position. And actually now Krystianer's going to try and go for an attack. I don't see this getting too much done. The charge loss will come in from the back. That's a nice little surround. Widow Mines are going to burrow up, though, for Clem. Oh, nice job on the Unburrow to make sure they don't just go off willy-nilly. And Krystianer, I don't know why he's attacking right now. Like, I don't think he can.
Yeah, I think in his mind he feels like he needs to though, because if he ends up losing those two pylons over here together with the gateway, he's going to be in a really rough position. He's trying to create a wraparound on this army, forces the Terran player to pick up and get on out of there, but ultimately that's still not that many Terran units going down here. Medevac drop maybe coming in from the back as well to try and shut down some of these reinforcing units. Fourth Nexus does go up at the 12 o'clock position, and in the meantime Clem has almost been a little bit soft contained on just two bases, right? I mean, we're getting to the point where he kind of needs another base here very soon. Getting the medevac would be nice. Okay, that's like 10 supply.
That's pretty nice. Yeah, that's a solid pickoff. Krystianer is going to try and go in once again with a Guardian Shield. Widow Mines getting some huge connections. And Clem, even though he can't take that third base, the trades are ridiculously one-sided. He snipes down the Archon. He's going to find so many more of these Zealots here. This isn't a situation where Krystianer, it feels like he's attacked himself to death.
Yeah, trying his best. Like, he's playing this like he's got an 80 probe economy, right? But he's only sitting on like 65. Finally, Clem manages to properly secure this low ground. He's going to be flying that command center on south here, or I guess north, very soon. But he's already made the transition towards Ghosts. +2 infantry weapons is going to finish up here very shortly as well, and it is just going to make this Terran army even more menacing. Yeah, I mean, just against the Zealots alone, right? They clump up so much, those Ghosts are going to be amazing. And what else does he really have? There's an Archon in the mix? Maybe 2 Archons by the time he gets across the map, and then 17 Zealots. The Ghosts are going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, no Colossus, no Disruptors. I mean, no Storm. He starts the Colossus transition now, but at this, I don't even know if Clem needs to kite. At this point, like, I feel like if he just stim a click,
stand there. You may use stim pick if you feel like it.
Yeah, well, I no, he needs to use stim. I'll go that far, but like, I feel like this army is just so powerful. The Mines, they do get some big shots. Big EMP click on the War Prism. It will go down, and Clem's army, it is just gonna muscle through here, no problemo.
Very well done right there by the Frenchman.